Welcome into another Fast Break with Asa. I'm Jay Burr. We've got the boss here. We also brought in the gun show here. Mike Preston, Secretary of Commerce, head guy over there at AEDC. We'll touch base with him in a minute here, but I just want to get right into things here. It's not only pumpkin spice season, but it's also election season as well as we kind of start to get into early voting. And boss, I know this is always very near and dear to you, the election season, the cycle, and everything. And what do you want to tell folks out there other than just flat out get to the polls?
Well, we're in early voting season here in Arkansas, and of course they're voting across the country, and everybody's really encouraged by the fact that there's a large turnout, which for somebody like me that's been involved in politics for a long time, it's encouraging to see people engaged, interested in the issues, candidates working hard, and seeing a good turnout this year. So we see the attacks on democracy, and I say attacks, there are people worried about the democracy of the United States of America. So this should encourage everyone whenever we see this type of engagement. And so I do encourage everybody to get out and vote this year, strengthen our democracy, support the candidate of your choice.
How have you seen early voting kind of evolve throughout the years? Because it seems like it's now more, I guess, a mainstream idea rather than like, I'm just going to wait till the day of to go vote. It's become kind of more the norm now.
Well, it's for a candidate's perspective, it's changed fairly significantly because you got to plan on early voting, and so it's not building up the momentum to Election Day. It's making sure you've got your message timed so that you can cover the early voting. And then from a voting perspective, particularly coming through the pandemic and the expansion of access, if you might, or trying to make it easier for people to vote, eliminate some of the hurdles, people realize, hey, we don't have to wait till Election Day. We can vote early. We can avoid the hassle. And so it's being expanded. I think it's a good thing. Yeah. From my point of view, our approach to voting should be, let's increase access, encourage participation, and then secondly, we need to assure the integrity of the ballot. That's why we have voter ID. That's why we have these protections in place. And so absolutely, I'm encouraged by this, and I know it's tough on our county clerks because they have to work longer hours, and we're just going to have to staff up to meet that need of the public.
But there are some definite troopers out there, so shout out to all the county clerks and the full staffs here. Another big thing that we kind of covered here of late, computer science. I know that's not something new. If you've kept up with the boss whatsoever, computer science has been your thing. But we have seen that evolve in a big time way over the past few years. In fact, we just got some numbers in just the other day, actually, about the most recent high school numbers on that.
Well, for most people, this will be news.
Yeah.
And so this just came in this week, so I'm pleased to announce that, once again, the number of our students taking computer science courses in our high school has dramatically increased, and the number of teachers that are certified to teach computer science has increased as well.
Gotta have them.
To put this in perspective, when we began this back when I became governor, we had 1,100 students taking computer science all across Arkansas. That number has increased to last year to 12,500, and now this year it's gone up to 23,500.
Let's go.
So that is almost a 90% increase just year over year, and it's because we're now requiring it as a graduation credit. So we're going to see those numbers go up. We continue to lead the nation, and to do this, you've got to have teachers who are certified. We started out in Arkansas with fewer than 20 teachers that were certified to teach computer science. Last year, we had gone up to 650, which is a tremendous increase, and now we're up to over 800.
Man.
And so dramatic increases, thanks to our educators, our teachers, our students for embracing this, and it's going to make a big difference for Arkansas's economy, but more importantly, the opportunities for the students as they come out with a real skill.
Now, when you see those numbers, I mean, a lot of times in policy, you can't really get a hold of something, necessarily tangible, like, oh, this is working. But I mean, obviously numbers don't lie, and there they are. But for you, from on a personal standpoint here, when you see the way that it's evolved and the importance that it is, computer science, I mean, to see the effect that we're having here in Arkansas, of all states, and I know you get asked that a lot, is, oh man, what are you guys doing down there in Arkansas? But to see the results come to fruition, I mean, for you, that's just got to be great.
Well, it's very gratifying. It's exciting. That's what innovation and leadership is about. In fact, this last week I was in Memphis at a computer science conference. I've led the effort as chairman of the National Governors Association,
Right.
showcasing what we've done. And you have other states simply saying, we want to do what Arkansas did. And it is important. I mean, while we led in this, I want other states to embrace it because it's really a national security issue for our country. Where are we going to produce the talent for the tech industries of the future? And you don't want to ship them in from overseas. We don't want to outsource all of our jobs. And the answer is, let's produce them right here at home, and we're doing that in Arkansas.
All right, that's what we call a segue around here, because you might have seen the guy here, always sharply dressed. His arms are enormous. His jackets kind of hide him, but man, this guy gets in the gym. Mike Preston here. So I guess how you guys over there in the commerce area, you guys have been bringing stuff in left and right throughout the boss's tenure here, but how have we seen those jobs, or how have companies reacted to that computer science initiative?
Well, I think, companies have realized what's going on in Arkansas, and it's special. Give credit where credit's due in the governor's vision to implement this.
Yeah.
When he said he came in and it was, 1,100 students taking it, but he saw that these were the jobs of the future are right here. I mean, it's computer science education that, doesn't matter the industry, you're going to need that background. And in his leadership through the NGA, I think you can see you don't usually get all governors to buy into something, but he got all 50 governors to buy in to support computer science education because of what happened here in Arkansas.
Yeah.
We were the beneficiaries in Arkansas on the economic development side that we had this great initiative that we could go all over the country and all over the world talking about this pipeline of talent that's now coming through that has a background in computer science education that can come out of, high school, that knows how to, code, that knows how to do all these things with computers. And those are the jobs of the future. So that really helped us when we made our sales pitch to whatever company it was. We always talked about that and emphasized it. So it led us to, be even more successful in economic development.
And obviously, too, when everybody thinks about, computer science jobs, it's not just like tech startups or, people tend to think robotics, but, this is manufacturing and logistics and all that kind of stuff, too.
It's all computer science. So whether it's manufacturing, whether it's financial services, fintech, it's not just those startup companies. It's you go in and you think manufacturing, people think that, you're banging something with a hammer and it's the manufacturing of old. It's not. I mean, manufacturing today it's advanced manufacturing. Doesn't matter what the product is or how you're processing it. It's typically some type of robotics that's running it. Mm-hmm. And the person who's working on the line is programming that machine to do the automation. So if you don't have that background or that skill in computer science, you're not going to be able to do manufacturing. And that's so important for us if we want to continue to lead as a state and the U.S. as a country in job creation and manufacturing. We have to have that background. And by what the governor was able to do in his term as governor with computer science education, it's put us at the forefront.
And I guess how have you guys been able to kind of interweave these things? I mean, obviously we have the computer science initiative, kind of goes hand in hand with job recruitment. I mean, you guys have really done a number on the state here, and especially having to go through a pandemic and being a more rural state.
Well, let me jump in here. First of all, I want everybody to know what a star that we have in Mike Preston. We recruited him from Florida. He worked in economic development there. I was lucky to get him in Arkansas, and he's embraced the state, and he understands the importance of both expanding growth in tourism to manufacturing, to the military installations. And so we've broadened the mission of economic development more than the traditional sense. And so, Mike, thank you for the incredible work that you've done. And as a result, we have created 125,000 jobs over the last year.
Yeah.
Perhaps you could talk a little bit about what have been some of the keys in that job creation over the last 8 years?
Well, leadership matters, Governor, and I think your leadership has helped us to lay the foundation for what it means to build success in our state, and that means a better regulatory environment. You've made Arkansas a place that it's welcoming to businesses. It's not that the answer is no. Maybe the answer is no now, but hey, here's a path to get to yes. If it's a regulatory or an environmental concern, we want to work with you as a government, not be the obstacle of opening a new business. So you've seen, new businesses start, new businesses come in, existing businesses grow because they have that. You've seen a lessened tax burden, and I think that's something that people take note of around the country. They want to go where their capital is being treated the best. So for us as economic developers, it gives us every tool that we have in the toolkit to go out and market Arkansas as a destination to come, not only to live and our great outdoors and quality of life, but we've got a great business acumen now in our state and our great quality of doing business. That's allowed us to create those or help private sector, I should say, create those 125,000 jobs that you speak about. And it's been a team effort. The governor's led that team for us going all over the world and selling Arkansas as a place to come to business. And I'll point out a quick story, Governor, taking it back really early in your administration, a couple months in after you had passed the computer science initiative. You and myself and Charles Morgan, an entrepreneur here from Arkansas, went to California to talk about computer science education and what we had done. And we thought we were going to go to Silicon Valley and steal some of the jobs and have them come here. Well, we start talking about it, and the folks in Silicon Valley, the CEOs of the big companies there, was like, well, we're going to steal your talent and move them out here to California. Well, that was the case. And so when we thought about we need to rework our strategy, you fast forward to this year, and after we've come out of the pandemic and we've done so many great things in Arkansas to make it much more attractive, we're now going out to California and we're recruiting the talent because they want to get out of California. They want to come to Arkansas. Companies want to come to Arkansas. Maybe they have their headquarters there in California, but you know what? They're going to come to Arkansas and start doing their research and development because we have this talent pipeline that the governor's allowed us to create.
So there you have it. But, you kind of brought up the pandemic, and I guess between the two of you guys, you had to kind of work through that some way, somehow. I mean, I know we didn't go full shutdown mode, but I guess kind of what went into that period to where Arkansas is where it's at now.
Well, I'll start. But first, you say we didn't go into full shutdown mode. We didn't come anywhere close to that.
That's right.
We made it clear from the very beginning that we weren't going to make a distinction between what's an essential business and a non-essential business. They're all important and essential to the families that those jobs put food on the table.
Yeah.
And so we kept our businesses open, and many people remember how I was having to go on the national media and explaining why we're not sheltering in place and why we're not shutting things down. And it made no sense. And the fact that we kept our economy open and moving has made all the difference in our recovery and where we are today. And we had an economic development task force. Mike was involved in that, where we supported our business. And Mike, that's where you might want to pick up and talk about our support for businesses during that time.
Absolutely. The governor said we never shut down. We kept businesses going. I remember in that time it was dark days for everyone, was all the uncertainty. And we were getting emails and reach outs from companies that say, we need to be classified as essential so we can stay open. And so we're getting this, I made a folder on my computer of just all the emails I was getting of, please, classify us as essential business. So, we're talking with the team. It's like, do we have the authority to do that? What's essential? What's not? And I sit down with the governor. I say, Governor, hey, we have all these requests coming in of who's essential. The governor simply looked at me, and I'll never forget this. He said, Mike, all business is essential. And so I said, you know what, that's clear enough. So we just responded to that. And so all those companies, they kept open. The governor never issued that order and, in the face of a lot of scrutiny nationally, but we stayed open. And then we also shifted. So, in the midst of this pandemic and people aren't traveling, we can't really go out and recruit new companies coming into our state. So our team really shifted the focus to say, how can we support our existing businesses? And the governor allowed us to use $6 million of his quick action closing fund, coupled with some money from the attorney general, to set up a bridge loan program where we loan money at no interest to companies that needed it to stay open. And then we used some of our CARES money that we had to allow businesses to help protect themselves. So as you stay open, but we had to account for social distancing and gloves and masks and all the things that were the rage at the time to allow companies to be able to go and purchase that. They didn't have that in their inventory or in their stock list at the time, but we were able to put those funds to it to allow businesses to stay open. And because we did that, now, of course, there were going to be jobs lost because of, the nature of the pandemic. But because of those efforts, we were one of the first states in the country to recover all the jobs that were lost from the pandemic. And as the governor mentioned, we're now 125,000 more jobs today than in January of 2015. So that coupled together, made all the difference in the world. And we brought industry together at the table. So the governor said the task force, Stuart Walton came in and chaired that. Myself and Secretary Hurst and Secretary Ward from Agriculture and Tourism, we were, the co-chairs that worked with Stuart, and then we had industry representatives. How do we safely and securely keep our economy open and going, moving in the right direction, and support our businesses? And that's what we're able to do.
And obviously from a big business standpoint too, but small business also. I mean, you guys were right there in their corner too.
Well, small business was the key. Those are the ones, a mom and pop shop that has 2 or 3 employees. They don't have an extra $500 laying around to go buy PPE for everyone, or they maybe have to lay a person off. That's where we were able to redirect some funds that we, maybe previously had committed for economic development that we had to back off from and say, this is going into helping our companies stay open. And that's what we did. And that's why those companies and businesses are still in business today.
So, Mike, before we came in here, you shared a statistic with me, which was that there's new businesses that have been started in Arkansas in the last 8 years is over 11,000.
That's correct.
And that shows to me the entrepreneurship of Arkansans, that they want to work, they want to invest in their own business, and they're willing to take a risk to do it. And that's probably one of the most encouraging statistics to me, is that even during a tough economic time, while we've grown, we still had a pandemic, businesses were continuing to grow and to start in Arkansas.
And you said it, we have that entrepreneurship, blood in our DNA in Arkansas. And you think to the likes of a Sam Walton or a Bill Dillard, or who started these companies that were so small and have grown into these behemoths. But Arkansans have that spirit of, we can do this. We want to roll up our sleeves and start a business. And while during the pandemic wasn't a great time to start a business and go out and take out a loan or put all of your savings into starting something new, but they did that. And that's what those numbers reflect, is that, we're growing. We're seeing our existing companies grow. We're recruiting new companies in here or growing their footprint. But we also have that entrepreneurship spirit that people are coming in and starting businesses. And who knows, maybe in that there's the next, J.B. Hunt or the next Sam Walton in that small company that started and is now growing as a result.
And I mean, we're talking about 11,000 plus just businesses. I mean, you mentioned the 125,000 jobs, but I mean, also too, amongst all of that, I mean, we've had some heavy hitters come in. I mean, you talk about all the steel production. I mean, big time investments, and not just that. I mean, it's you guys have touched all 4 corners of this state with some of the investment and the opportunities that you're providing for Arkansans.
Yeah, you mentioned the steel in Northeast Arkansas was when the U.S. Steel project that was announced earlier this year, a $3 billion investment, 900 jobs, paying an average wage of over $106,000 per year. When that gets up and fully running, Arkansas will be the lead steel producing state in the country. Again, I think it goes back to day one in the office of the governor, and he picked up the phone and called 6 CEOs, cold calls, to say, Arkansas is open for business. We want your business here. Come take a look at what we're doing. It's because of some of those phone calls and those things in those early days of the administration that set us up to have that success. So you see the steel industry thriving now. All across the state, we've seen wins in rural parts of the state and central part of the state, northwest corner, all across Arkansas. We're very blessed.
Let's talk about opportunity for just a second, because to me it's always about the future. And Mike and I made a trip this year, marketing Arkansas, calling on businesses, both in the air show, supporting our aero defense industry, which is so incredible in South Arkansas. Small town of Camden is saving the world.
That's right.
The HIMARS that they produce that go over to Ukraine and fight against the Russians and protect their sovereign territories, making a big difference. It's nice to be recognized there. So we supported the aero defense industry, but we also went further in, and we have a great opportunity with our timber production in South Arkansas, particularly with the pellet manufacturing that they're actually using for fuel and energy production over in Europe.
Yeah.
And so while we don't have a robust pellet marketplace here because we have other sources of energy, when you look at Japan, whenever you look at Europe, they're using wood pellets to produce their energy. And now that they have a energy crunch this year because of Russia cutting them off and being unstable, they're looking for other sources. That's a great opportunity for us. We call on businesses. I know that we have some pellet manufacturers there in South Arkansas. I expect that to grow and be an opportunity. I think whenever you look at our manufacturing, we've always been good, strong in manufacturing in Arkansas. I think we rank number 6 in the nation in percent of our workforce that has experience in manufacturing. And now that you see reshoring of manufacturing facilities, trying to get away from a China-centric supply chain, you're going to see those opportunities come to states like Arkansas. And I think that's something that we've been working on, but hopefully will continue.
Absolutely, Governor. And sometimes, you can plan and strategize, and sometimes it helps to be lucky. And I think we got lucky with our timing and going into the UK to talk about our timber basket and the pellets. You look at the UK right now, the price of timber and wood is more than gold right now. So I mean, they need timber, they need that wood production because they're staring in the face of what could be a very cold winter if they don't have natural gas and oil coming in from Russia. So we timed that just right to make sure that the Arkansas timber basket is in the mix, and those companies that we're already working with are going to support that. But again, from going back on the manufacturing side in the defense industry, that's one that's going to continue to grow. I think there's been reports out that talking about our military, that we really need to step up the strength of our military and our readiness. We're kind of at a lull of where we've been over the last 20 or 30 years, and if we want to beef that up, it's going to take companies like Aerojet Rocketdyne and Lockheed Martin and Raytheon, who all have a presence in South Arkansas, who manufacture those propulsion systems and that go onto the rockets. You're going to see that continue to increase. I heard the CEO of Raytheon, who we met with while we were in Europe this summer, talking about if they could find 10,000 people right now, they would hire them today. And that's how much production they are behind and how much they're going to continue to ramp up. So I see that growth in South Arkansas and the air defense industry continuing to be a driver for Arkansas.
Go ahead, boss.
Well, I mean, that's two key things that you said there. One of them is that everybody wants jobs in rural Arkansas.
Yes.
And so it's exciting to see those opportunities in South Arkansas. We want them to grow, and I was in Helena with a new jobs announcement there. We've been down to Arkadelphia. Obviously, Crossett has opportunities, El Dorado. So it's really exciting to see, even in rural Arkansas. And then you look up in North Arkansas, up in Ash Flat. We brought in Emerson there, which is creating jobs, and people get to stay closer to their home because they got job opportunities there. The other thing I just mentioned, we're talking about South Arkansas and the timber production. Everyone should know that we are producing more timber every year in South Arkansas than we're consuming. So our timber, our timber basket is growing. There's ample supply there, even to meet the needs of our pellet production.
That's right. In new technology, when we talk about technology jobs, you look at what is being done with timber, and you can talk about the cross-laminated timber as a building material. Now, Walmart, who is headquartered in Northwest Arkansas, is rebuilding their entire headquarters and their footprint, and they're doing it all out of cross-laminated timber. And it's a great Arkansas story in the fact that they're going to use timber that's grown right there in South Arkansas, harvested in South Arkansas, supporting that economy, that's shipped to Central Arkansas and to Conway, into a company called Structure Lamb, who, Governor, you helped to recruit here, who then goes through the manufacturing process of creating cross-laminated timber. Beams are then shipped up to Northwest Arkansas, and it's used to create that new building. So, any way you look at it, that timber industry supports so many others, and it's because of the technology and advancements in technology in Arkansas being on the forefront of that we're able to build a corporate headquarters for the Fortune 1 company in the world right here in a true Arkansas story.
We got a couple minutes left here, so I want to kind of get y'all's take on this. Is you guys have traveled the globe out here recruiting, trying to bring folks to Arkansas, but what's been, for you guys, what's been one of the more memorable and successful trips that you guys have had together?
Well, the first, I thought you were leading into basketball.
I'm sure you guys play hoop wherever you go, right?
Yeah, we're international basketball players for sure. We play pickup just about everywhere we go. But, in terms of the success, one, we've had success in recruiting the firearms industry, and part of that's here in the United States with Sig Sauer coming here. So I would point to one call being very significant with the follow-up of Mike's team where Sig Sauer came in. And we had the same successes going to the air show. And I want everybody to understand how competitive it is going to these air shows and how important it is for Arkansas to invest in economic development.
Yeah.
Because at the Paris Air Show, we like to entertain and we had them out to dinner, all the Arkansas-based companies that were European-owned in the aero defense industry and other manufacturing. So we took them out to dinner. At the same time, Alabama rented out the entire Eiffel Tower to entertain their customers and support them. And so it's a competitive world out there with the other states, but we have done very well in the aero defense, and I would point that to being one of our successful trips.
Well, and I think you can point to every trip and look at a direct result from that trip that we can point to that's led to increased investment in Arkansas, new jobs, more export opportunities for our state. So you can point to everyone, including this last one where we actually have an announcement on the books for sometime in the middle of November from a company that we called on in the firearm industry. So you'll see that. I don't want to tease too much, but maybe we'll make some news here. But in a couple of weeks, the governor will be announcing a new project as a direct result of that trip that we took. But I think every trip you can go back and look to and say, yeah, there was direct results from it, and that's why we do it. And then part of it is the marketing, as the governor said. It's highly competitive over there when you're trying to get in front of it. And I'll say that, the first time we went to the Paris Air Show in 2015, it's, who's Arkansas and what are you doing here? This is our space. But by this last year in 2022, when we went, it was, welcome back, and everyone knows Arkansas. They know how important the industry is. And, the governors try to compete with each other. I just think, they try to make a splash. Haley Barber's last time in office, he took a helicopter to the air show and they dropped him right in the middle of it. We hadn't done anything crazy like that. I think, our jobs and our economy in the aero defense industry speak enough for itself that we don't have to go to that extent. But as the governor said, if you're not there, if you're not at the table, you're likely to end up on the menu. And I'll point out, he said, we were international basketball players. He didn't say international basketball stars, just players.
Big difference there. And I guess real quickly, and this will be the last thing here, what's been one of the more interesting places you guys played ball on the road?
Well, Cuba would have to. I mean, it was so historic that I was the first governor to go to Cuba after we restored diplomatic relations with Cuba.
Oh.
And so we had a game set up. I thought it was just a casual game, but they dropped us off at the Cuban National Sports Arena.
Oh, gosh.
And so we're there playing with the Cuban national team with referees, and the media was there, and quite an experience. And I won't go into all the details, but the point is, when it was over with, it was just really building good relations.
Sure.
And so that started the habit of playing ball in other places, and And we've been to Japan. We've played in Israel. We've played with the Marines in Germany.
Oh, wow.
That was at our embassy. So it's just relationships. It's fun as well as good exercise. But Cuba would have to rank up at the top. And I know you're probably going to think about giving the guy the bloody nose in Japan.
We were not supposed to talk about that. I don't know if I'm allowed back in Japan for a few more years. But
he's on the no-fly list.
The Cuba experience was great. And then I'll say that, in Israel and in Germany, we had the opportunity to play with the Marines who guard the embassies over there. And what a treat for us to be able to do that. But then I think it was really special for those Marines to see a U.S. governor, sitting U.S. governor, to come in and say, hey, let's play basketball. And some of these guys, they played before, some of them never played before, but they get the opportunity to do so. And the governor had a young guy one time. He obviously never played basketball before, but the sergeant above him said, "You just stay with him, whatever he goes." And it didn't matter if the governor was on offense or defense. He stood right beside the governor and was watching him. He didn't want him to get the ball. But it was a lot of fun to play with those guys, and they have a lot of heart, and it's good for them to see fellow Americans coming over to those really special places in the world.
They can guard the embassy, but they can't guard the governor. That's for sure here.
Good,
all right, guys, we certainly do appreciate it, Mike. Thanks for popping on
Thanks,
here.
Jay.
Give us a lot of great insight. Can't wait for that announcement coming up here. Okay, again, so that's it for this one. Make sure you subscribe. We're on the YouTube page. We've got Apple Podcast, any other platform where you get your podcast. Make sure you hit that subscribe and that like button. Leave us some feedback. We're always welcome. We're always open to it. And again, Mike, we do appreciate the time, and we will see y'all again next time on Fast Break with Asa.